Canyon is like joking around, and obviously it's worth it just to see Keen get tormented by his eternal jester Lahens, who did a really good job of that last year in KT, and then just was like, you know what, Keen, if you're leaving, I'm sticking with you. You're not getting rid of me.
He's being haunted.
Oh,
as KT will do the one thing that you kind of have to do against, that is absolutely necessary as well, against Canyon, and that is ban Italy. You don't have to do this against anybody else. There's been some pretty worldwide brainwashing that has gone on when it comes to the Nidalee, but we might address that sometime later, because this time we don't have to. Skarner also going to be banned away on the blue side, somewhat puzzling, and there goes the Rumble as well. It seems like Rumble, Skarner are the two that people have been really looking out for, and despite slight nerf to the Ashe, we've seen that she is still extraordinarily strong.
I don't hate the Skarner ban, because I do feel like you want to give Perfect maybe a little bit more agency, given that he has looked like one of the better performing players on your team. And I do think that the Skarner does push you in a little bit of a direction when it comes to your draft, whereas the Ashe, it's a flex pick. It's both an insane AD carry as well as an insane support. It does mean that the very obvious Corki is going to come out here. Normally what we see is paired this with a jungle pick, but instead Hayes is going to get some priority. He's earned it, given his level and Lahens' level of performance thus far in the tournament. As that, I love that one too. So
is this KT drafting well? What? I'm not used to this. What's going on? Isn't this the summer season of 2024? Surely not.
That's a really strong opener.
I am very worried about the Yone pick, because BDD did kind of look tragic on it last time around.
He did.
We have to caveat.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't want to get excited about the performance, but the draft thus far.
Yeah.
So you have, obviously we've seen the Sejuani and Ashe combo many a time. It changed nicely into another. You can also force cleanse with one and then go in with the other. Sejuani combined with Yone, self-explanatory. Really strong follow-up, strong melee synergy.
Wait.
For a pick that loves it.
Did I say the E word?
I don't know, because I have been very thoroughly trained to ignore the.
Right. Yeah, I might have. I might
Is
have
that
the ball there a little bit.
Wow.
I was
of all people.
Yeah, I was feeling a little bit under the weather this morning. Maybe that's affected my brain, and I'm just not focusing enough.
It
if I
happens
did
to the best
say
of us.
I apologize to everyone out there for that. As Karthus going to be taken away from Canyon. Looks a little bit weird, but it does make a whole lot of sense. Canyon so good on that champion, as we have already seen so far this season. The Braum, the Freljordian ban, you love to see it. Denying some of that synergy from KT.
I don't love Braum in this type of draft, because already we're looking to play very far forward here if you're KT, but I do think it makes sense, because if you're Gen G, it's really obnoxious to play into if you're Leona. So in general, if you're playing a more aggressive comp, which there are relatively short range, the Lilia shouldn't come as a surprise. Wonder if it's going to be like the Brand. I do think Brand with Leona specifically is quite strong, so very solid combo. Alternatively, I'm like double checking, but Talia is also still open, which the reason why I'm triple checking is
what the Zyra jungle.
Oh,
there we go.
Lock it in.
I love it. Thank you very much, Canyon.
Man,
my favorite champions, and she's going to be coming out of the jungle. I believe she was nerfed a little bit prior to the LCK starting. She was kind of terrorizing the jungle before that.
Yeah.
But still pretty strong.
This is a debacle for lore as well, because you have her favorite champion versus her favorite team. That's a tough one. As we look, the Maokai support would make a lot of sense. We saw the Poppy support really come up as a top-tier pick as well. But Barrel's just showcasing what a champion pool he has. It's going to be the Seraphine instead.
Was it Quandong Freaks that played it into KT when they played it last week?
And then KT also ran it back, and then they weren't able to make it work. That was when Leaper played Jhin.
Yep.
So that was the second game, because the first game it was used by the bot lane of Kwang, who obviously have been doing exceptional. So I want to highlight, I really like this draft here from KT. The only thing that I'd be a little worried about is Keen going for a counter pick, but Keen identifies that they have Zeri, they have Corki, they have Zyra. Additional front line is definitely going to be the big thing here. And I also like the Jax, because one of the things you could look towards, even though it's been nerfed, is the TF, and can't pick that into the Jax. So I love this draw from KT. You have a really strong top side, double melee with Sejuani, you have great engage, You have great follow-up on the dive as well. So I do think that all of that looks good. The downside is that you are playing, and I think specifically the combination of Zyra as well as Cassante can make it really hard to actually find a target and blow them up in the right amount of time, because once Canyon's ult comes down, you gotta have either already taken someone out or get the hell out of there.
The idea of a Zeri skating around on top of a Stranglethorns is just a little bit terrifying, because that does a lot of damage in onto itself, and you have to get out of there. And so you can scatter a teamfight pretty beautifully. I'm a little bit worried as well for KT, but I think everyone is probably in a permanent state of I'm worried for KT, so I think it makes sense. It's absolutely fine. This is where we deserve to be, right?
It's also the double whammy, because you're playing against GENG. So any team that faces GENG is like, oh no. I am facing GENG. The obvious thing that I do think Canyon is going to have to do here is be very, very clean with his positioning. He is playing one of the slowest characters. I'm not sure if it's 100% the slowest, but definitely up there in the game against Ashe, against Jax, against Yone, against Sejuani. So he needs to be very crisp. Let's be honest, GENG, their objective setups have been exceptional, and Zyra can really help with that.
Yep, I think he will be absolutely fine. If I can play it, he definitely can. It's KT versus GENG. See whether KT can do it again as we jump into the rift for game one. All right, GENG fans in full voice. KT fans also definitely not quiet here as Deft. Dude, the guy next to you has a skin for that. Oh, but they're like the synergy, the skinergy towards the bottom side of the map actually much better with those two skins. So I appreciate it. Not using Beryl's skin just so that they could look a little bit more coordinated. Love that. I think they need all the help they can get in that department as well.
Oh, Canyon going for the Comet. So this is a new tech for the Zyra. I'm personally a pretty big fan. I think that Dark Harvest, we've seen that rune in competitive specifically just not have that much impact. First Strike, obviously, is also great, but First Strike did get nerfed on this patch. Canyon, if you're wondering, how does Zyra jungle even work? Her clear is pretty solid, and you don't take any damage. So we also see Canyon doesn't actually have a pot, because his plans are going to tank everything.
Yes, you just never really need to worry about it. Manages to get the 4 as well by manipulating the positioning of his initial seeds. Glorious stuff. So just going to be rotating around, getting this one done. It is once again going to be the case. Oh no, the plan.
I love that.
The one random one, you know, just got a little bit confused. Oh. This is the first Zyra jungle that we've had. And I think that Canyon as well has had quite a few of the random jungle debuts of certain things. So definitely pretty cool. I think the other one's been Spirit and Pino.
Yeah, still stands out to me as the guy that was like, you know what, Nico is a flex pick.
Oh,
If you're DK and no one else can do that because no one else is Canyon. Managed to make it look good, which I think is very impressive as you would expect, the early power of this Seraphine and Ashe is going to be a bit tough for Pays and Lands. They're really just trying to survive until they hit level 6. And then they'll have all in threat. You're still going to need to force out summoners. You're going to need to respect the ultimate combo that's there. As I was saying, the clear is a little bit ridiculous because as of right now, Canyon is about to be done with his full clear.
Yeah.
Whereas Pioshik is currently doing his red.
Yeah. So still got his Crocs to go, whereas the Gromp is about to die here.
About 3 minutes.
Yep.
There you go.
Doesn't even get impatient as immediately Deft has to use his cleanse. Canyon is from killing these camps into a great flash to get himself out of the way of the Zenith play, but still has to use the flash and the cleanse immediately. As Canyon rotates over, and he is not done yet. They are putting on all of the pressure that they can find. Not going to quite find those grasping roots there as Canyon will be slowed down as the beat drops. Still, Pioshik, as you can see, very late to the party.
Canyon seeing his 2x teammates and going like, oh, we can get something there. And this is really the perfect example of why clear speed is, one, super broken. It's the same reason why the Karthus ban came through, right? Because you have so much tempo on the map, you get to do so much more. But also, how good a pick that is off meta can be.
Oh dear, there's the flash grasping roots. Deft able to walk out of it, but he still has to walk in the wrong direction, and first blood goes to Pays. That is about as bad as it could have gone for KT, but best possible scenario for GENG.
Because the reason why Def dies there in the first place is because he had to use his summoners early because he wasn't ready for Canyon clearing the jungle that quickly.
Yeah.
If you've played a million games against Xin Zhao, against Lee, you're going to be expecting them to be there at a certain given point in time. But right here, because his summoners are already gone, Canyon can just walk up and like, yeah, he sidesteps the initial route, but it doesn't matter because Lahans is ready.
And also the plant's slow anyway. That's the best thing about Zyra. You can miss all your skill shots and still kill him.
And all of that goes back to Def just walking up because he wasn't ready for Zyra clearing that fast, which realistically, I feel like, I know it's an off-meta pick, but it's also not that off-meta, right? As you point out, we saw a lot of it in the preseason, and that is the type of mistake that can very quickly snowball because now...
I mean, Deft was playing when it was, you know, Prey and Gorilla playing the Zyra support on the bottom side of the map. I think Wolf played it a couple of times as well, if you guys remember. So she has certainly been meta in Deft's day. That's absolutely true.
And now... Well, I was really talking about the jungle specifically, like at the beginning.
Oh, right. For the timings?
Yeah. And now, Paze has an early kill. And I think Paze is a guy doing a great job, but also being put in a really good position. This is another example of that, right? His early laning phase was looking a little rough. Canyon visits twice. Now he has a kill. Level 6 is very, very close, right? You're both level 4, so you should be completely fine. The window for Deft and Barrel kind of gone.
Yep, it's a little bit of a rough one here as we're having a look back towards the bottom side as 3v3 is continuing. Hazel going to go and pick up this wave. Kind of Barrel not really going to find the mark. Got pings onto exactly where Canyon is, so at least KT are keeping up a little bit now. Feels like some of that damage has definitely been done though as BDD trying to avoid these rockets. He's going to be able to get away from that first one and has had a pretty good early laning phase so far on the Yone. Really struggled into the Talia last time we saw it against Showmaker. Is looking a little bit better now, but it's a Cork. He doesn't exactly, although I guess he does have more lane presence now, and Chovy always has. But still, Canyon moving on over, Keen going to help him out. And as I say, the BDD's having a fine time. He goes down to 200 health or something like that. And it's going to get slowed up. Chovy moving in, Deft in the area as well, as I think Pioshik going to have to get out of here. Yeah. And it's going to be able to push him away. Canyon moving on down. He'll take the leash.
And it's another example of how powerful clear speed is. Because what happened there was Canyon walks top, takes 2 grubs, then sees that the dragon is being taken. Because KT is like, hey, if Canyon's top, which they spotted and go there, then we can trade for a bot side dragon. But what happens is Canyon just already has taken 2, walks it off, says, hey, Keen, I got some errands to run. Can you take care of this? He's like, I got your back, don't worry. So now they get free grubs, and they get the dragon as well.
And all of the lead, it feels like, is coming from A, the first blood, but B, Canyon being able to get around this map a whole lot faster. We're having a look at it one more time as lane proximity is the big difference maker here, as we can see, and it's because, like you say again, as we're going to have to hold that thought for a moment, flash out from Beryl, gets himself under the turret, but can he keep himself alive is the question as Paze in a bit of trouble. They're not able to actually finish it off just yet, but they only invest the Ignite, and they get a very important flash from Beryl.
Yeah, Paze ulting there, not going to be the end of the world, and Beryl not having flash means that it is, again, so much more susceptible for that bot lane gank, and not going to have a guaranteed way to get away from Lahans, who will have his flash up shortly. So we kind of really see this cascade of stuff happening. Again, a large part of that is also the fact that Chovy on this Corki is making a lot of pressure here, because I do think that BDD is doing great when it comes to, you know, keeping up in CS. Also, Chovy going tier, actually interesting, because we've seen a lot of Triforce builds, but we haven't seen Manamune in a while. Obviously used to be the go-to item of Corki because he was a poke champion.
Yep.
I haven't seen that as much recently. As they did spot, they know that Pioshik's there.
Yeah, and Kane is going to get, oh no, not going to get stunned up. He's Cassante, he doesn't get CC'd. It's not a thing that happens, and he did absolutely know what was going on. So he's able to just dash his way up, not going in too far. Is now Beryl going to lose his control ward at the best. See what happens at worst here, as
they might have to drop, because they know that Pioshik was topside, and there's no ult on Beryl yet.
Ooh, some cash money though for Deft, as we can see, as the grasping roots do not land. Beat drop as well, not going to find the mark. Some plans coming down as Keen going in. There's the all out onto Perfect, who does press the Grandmaster's might, but I don't know whether it's necessarily going to work. He's trying to wait, trying to get out. And Keen, he's all out, but he's not going to be able to catch up. And that is not going to be any sort of solo kill. Both flashes now down as Canyon. Oh, BDD. He is going to be able to make it somewhere out of this. Almost goes down to that last rocket. Does have to invest his ultimate, but doesn't have to use the flash.
That's a big win, because Canyon, you know, seeing the snapback already ready is like, I can guarantee that we can take him down here, but
I was very sure that he was dead, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I was expecting so as well, but just not barely gonna miss up on the damage. The final rocket not hitting the mark there from Chovy. Obviously, BDD also had flash, so realistically should never get hit by that at all. That's a good amount of pressure that is being absorbed if the game state was even.
Yeah.
But it's... Wait, is that's exactly 0?
Yeah, it is very even in bottom lane.
I've never seen that.
I think it's kind of cool as well, because Lahens and Beryl joined in like the same sort of era of LCK as well. Yeah. The fact that they are even is just it's just really cool, because you've got very, very young versus a veteran on the top side of the map. In the jungle, it's a little bit more similar, a little bit closer. BDD versus Chovy though, you know, Chovy a lot younger than BDD. Deft and Pays needs no introduction, but Beryl and Lahens, exactly the same. Represented in the gold. You love it when a plan comes together.
Nice.
Okay, that was very convoluted for 0 information that's actually useful in any way. But sometimes these things tickle.
That's the LCK guarantee.
Oh, yeah. All right, we are moving towards a 2,000 gold lead with only that first blood really going down. KT, under the pressure of this Zyra jungle, struggling a little. And they might be able to get themselves a grub. That's certainly good news. They do give information over to GENG, though, as you can see, standing on that scuttle vision. That's why Lahens is coming down, getting wards in here, making sure that they can spot the rotations. And Perfect is at least able to catch some of these minions.
Yeah, I really like this back from Perfect here. Realistically, they did, I'm pretty sure they spotted Canyon heading towards him as well. Like, he's just going to die. If he stays here, makes his way out, this wave is going to crash. There's going to be more plates going over, but they do get, as you point out, the grubs. It's going to be free against free. This Dragon, though, is looking like it's 100% going to go towards GENG. I don't know if KT is really going to be in a position to try and contest for this, given that we see Deft Beryl still making the way towards the bot side of the map. And I expect that Pays and Canyon will be able to get through quickly. Instead, though, it looks like they're just going to get the first turret blood and put even more gold into these carries as, Canyon and Pays. They are...
Yeah.
They're rich.
That's it's a lot of money. And damage to turrets here, of course, Pays is going to be at the highest number, but you can see the KT haven't even been able to say hello to any of these turrets.
Canyon actually doing like almost 1k damage to turrets as a jungler.
Yeah. And I almost guarantee that Canyon will have the most damage in the game at the end of this one as well, because Zyra just does silly amounts of damage. Gone for the Leandries first as well. You do get a lot of value from things like Rylai's also, as your Q will then slow with its plants. But instead just going for max damage, will be able to cut through anyone that walks up to them. But that does mean that the Dragon does go over to KT, so they're evening that score. Certainly good news. And that is a Chemtech Soul. Orcs is here today. Wasn't even paying attention. My goodness. Okay, Keen is not the one BDD wanted to come out of that teleport, and so therefore snaps back pretty immediately. And Pays, is this going to be the elusive Zeri gank? It might be, as Perfect takes way too much damage from both Chovy and Canyon. Still, may not necessarily be dying, as the arrow is going to sail by majestically, but doesn't really do too much there, as Pays was already celebrating the release of a sequel to Jet Set Radio, which is going to be coming out in the future. Very exciting stuff. Gets over that wall. That is a flash forward, but it doesn't quite find it there, as Deft is going to cleanse. Still has to, as Keen makes his way forward, but that could have been way worse for KT. Nice hands there from Deft.
Gotta respect Lahens' commitment to flashing on stuff when he doesn't even have Hex Flash. The main issue for KT is that if we are as... Wow, that is somewhat surprising. I didn't expect...
Is it though?
Well, I kind of, given how the game played out, I thought Canyon, you know, he's been so active on the map.
I've seen BDD's health bar the whole game.
I know, and it's also because you're in... Oh, that was a Pays dropping...
yeah, he dropped a plate.
Dropping a plate there.
On the floor!
That's exactly where plates don't go.
I know.
I say as someone who's dropped a lot of plates. One of my favorite
It's not a Greek wedding.
that my family loves to tell is that I dropped a plate and there was a plate of spaghetti.
Yeah.
Somehow I like dropped it on myself, so I was just covered. Like I tried to catch it.
We've all been.
While falling over, and then the plate ended up.
When I was learning to ride a bike, I got hit by a parked car. There's an ulti from BDD. Chovy going to be able to flash out of there, but still has to invest it. Kushik comes in and doesn't find the Glacial Prison. They were really hoping that they'd be able to at least get a kill there because there is a lot of bleeding to stem here.
And it's a little bit tough to watch because I like what KT is doing. They're continuously going for these plays, right? Deft is firing arrows. Pioshik's trying to set something up. Perfect was able to, you know, withstand the pressure of Keen in that lane. But then the play doesn't work. They don't get the kill. And even though they're only a kill down, like the gold lead is quickly becoming insurmountable. These item finishes for GENG are going to be absolutely pivotal. And we see like Keen, he's level 11. It doesn't matter whether he's laning into Perfect or BDD, because he's just going to be building full armor this game. We haven't even touched upon this yet, but this is a full AD draft that KT have found for themselves here. So down the line, Keen is going to be unkillable. Like,
yeah, it's not a it gets better type story.
No.
And even if they kill Canyon, he turns into a plant at the end and has an execute, right? Oh wait, no, they removed that. That was a long time ago.
I love that passive.
I'm still sad about it though.
That passive was so goofy.
It was actually the best. I loved it.
There's so many.
It made me feel like I was supposed to just go in, press on my buttons, and die, and that was actually my job. Whereas now it still is. Like, that is what Zyra does predominantly, but I don't get to have like a shooty shoot at the end. It's really sad. This was my, like, I know I kind of forced it in there, but I really did want to have the rest. Yeah,
Atlas, you know this is a safe space to discuss emotions that you have regarding one of your favorite
mainly Zyra, yeah. It's all right. Deft gonna have to give up this turret, absolutely. As Pioshik rotating around, you can see Lehans, he really wanted to find that Zenith blade, but doesn't get an opportunity just yet. As Roterald is going to fall down. Keen getting kited. That is a decent encore under 3. Perfect into the backline. Finds his counter-strike on everyone. Strangle Thorns is there defensively, but BDD finds the ulti and KT! They managed to manufacture a team fight, and it has not looked better. Outside of that part there where Keen manages to kill Perfect. Chovy trying to go 1v4. That ain't gonna work. And Deft is gonna kill his ex-teammate, KT. They needed that.
It's the wombo combo that dreams are made of, Atlas. KT in the mid lane. The chain there. Barrel starts it off. Perfect. Sets him up, and then BDD knocks them down. As we take another look, it's Barrel with the flash ult. Then the summoners being forced here by Perfect mean that once BDD gets onto the backline, there is no one to stop him. And even with the ultimate from Canyon, everyone on KT still gets to make their way over. Yeah, Perfect ends up dying, but that was a much-needed gold influx. That alone not going to be enough. They're going to need more of those, but at least KT is fighting back.
Yep, they're on the board now. And it doesn't really change the game state all that much, guys.
No.
It does show that KT can actually perform well together.
I thought that was going to be a bigger dent.
Yeah, no, it's a bit of a blip. You just need a bit of super glue and you'll be absolutely fine with that one. I don't think GENG are really too worried. They're also going to be able to grab their second dragon of the game. That will very, very quickly go down. Chemtech ult, not going to be the greatest of value for them, I guess, but every dragon is a good dragon.
It's a bit deflating, Atlas. I came back expecting, okay, so KT, they get that, they don't get mid turret, they don't get the dragon, and the gold lead also hasn't nearly
they get way better vibes now.
They do need, and they need good vibes.
I almost think that is the most important thing for KT here, as this may affect the vibe situation, as VOD losing a bit of a trade here against Keen, who is absolutely a brick wall and is only going to get worse as this game goes on. 1-0-3 though for BDD. Certainly was a huge benefactor of that last little skirmish, so let's see whether he's going to be able to go and turn that into more of a carry performance here. Because like you say, I mean, there's still a little bit of a clock on this game as well. That's the thing that's the worst part, is that GENG felt like they had a complete monopoly on the early game, but also the late game is theirs as well by default, because they've got, you know, Corki, Zeri, Zyra. Silly.
Yeah, I think the KT comp is still...
I know, it's cool. It's a cool comp. How does it feel so one-sided?
No, I think it also skills well. Outside of specifically the ability to get on top of pace, that's like the one thing where I feel like realistically, there you got a dream scenario. You shouldn't be able to get onto pace consistently as we get to the later fights. Chovy, again, looking for a play on him here.
Kushik is still going to throw out the ulti, but isn't able to catch him in the Valkyrie there. A little bit of a shame. And Canyon, he's going to try his hand at hitting some abilities. Doesn't have that Rylai's completed just yet, as the turret just gets whispered at, and that is going to fall down. Was on very low health.
Bit careless there from Chovy to just walk up, but ends up working out.
Yep.
Nonetheless, we do have Perfect maybe in some trouble here.
Oh dear.
I think he saw that.
Yeah, Keen knows what's going on here. As Pace is moving on down, that is going to be a ward hop leap, and then he's able to get it.
It's just fine.
Yeah, it's just all okay.
Nice. You have a very cool theatrical Baron reveal there, and Chovy did indeed go for Manamuna Canyon, now also has his Rylai's done. One of the things that I just, looking at how GENG have been playing so far, until the AP jungler AD mid meta gets like, and it will actually get nerfed pretty substantially on the next patch, which will be in like 2 weeks before we see that in the LCK. Up until that, but I don't think that anyone is going to stop them. Because I'm looking at the fact that Canyon's just like, yeah, they're playing Zyra Corki, but you know what it also could have been? Karthus Yone, if that didn't get picked up. They can play Tristana Nidalee. They can play, I don't know, like, what are the next options? Lilia Lucian. There's so many variations on this exact same theme.
I don't know whether Lilia Yasuo would have been the best, but it does sound.
Doesn't matter.
It sounds
doesn't matter. I feel like in theory, outside of the prio she provides, Nidalee Tristana shouldn't be good. Guess what?
Yeah.
That's top tier right now.
If your name's Canyon, that's absolutely true.
And Chovy. Having Chovy helps. Yeah. And it really brings me back to why Damwon in 2020 and even in 2021 was so successful is because of how well Showmaker was playing. So Canyon could just do whatever he wanted at any given point. And Canyon, no, you can't give him that type of power.
Nope.
It's too much.
And that blueprint was already there. And so Chovy knew exactly what he needed to do. He was, you know, feeling the wrath of the Canyon Showmaker as they were at the very pinnacle. So now just gets to utilize it himself. It's kind of cool.
And he wasn't on while.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess in Pinnacle he wasn't.
Or DRX. Yeah, DRX. Was, it wasn't a much better time.
No. Well, they made it further than Hanwha did.
They did.
Same fate at the end, though.
I mean, it was a precursor to DRX, then winning the World Championship as obviously the best team in the world in the year of 2022, our Lord. So, does make a lot of sense.
Is this how you're going to lay it up into KT's actually winning this because they have 3 of those players?
I mean, it might look like they're down 4,000 gold, but in reality, they're down 4,000 gold. I can't really. I don't have a.
Hey, they have 2 item spikes. Hit on a lot of the carries. They have Helia.
They do. Our Beryl doesn't have very much health anymore as Chovy throws a rocket. I thought that was...
yeah, so also a lot of the builds didn't really opt into, you know, your rocket dealing a lot of damage, but I feel like Manamune specifically is really good for that, as we can see there.
Certainly feels a little bit better as BDD going to teleport his way in. Keen just being that front line as they set up the Soul Point.
Perfect.
I think that KT wants to find this angle. Once again, it is that flank that Perfect has set up for himself. GENG gonna get spotted as the Scryer's Bloom comes in. Extendo Beam onto Beryl. He is pretty squishy. As they will start off this dragon once again. There's the flash forward. Flash out from Beryl though as Pace immediately cleanses the Glacial Prison. And Depp feeling pretty safe at this point in time. Finds the arrow onto Canyon. There's the knockup of the Strangle Thorns. Has gone down. It's Perfect that gets Pace out of the fight though. And there is the kill onto Canyon that he finally finds. This time though, Pace is still alive. And Keen just slices him up and gets out of there. Depp wanting to get a bit of damage back as there's the counter strike from Perfect. The arrows are raining through though. And Perfect just wanting to find a Pace. Getting kited and Depp finds the 1v1 at the end. It's a teleport to bring Keen back in though. And I don't know whether Deft wants to go for that particular 1v1 as well. At least this time he'll be able to walk his way out. As my goodness, how does KT manage to find these team fights?
I'm not so sure, because this one looks done and dusted. A lot of the poke comes through, and the engage is good, but not remotely as good as it was before. Barrel, even though he ends up getting caught by Lahen's Xenoblade here, goes so deep that the rest of GENG can't realistically follow. With the very early cleanse out, unpays as well. And this is where you might get a little bit worried. I think that this time Canyon gets way more value out of his ultimate, forces Deft back. BDD doesn't actually get on top of Haze, and Canyon dies. But here you're like, okay, this is donezo. But GENG crucially overstepped. They don't have to go in here. Keen is backing.
No, okay.
And Keen is about to TP back in.
This is this is the time in the Matrix where they're like, he's beginning to believe. Because now finally, they're about to, you know, get closed in on in a fight, and they just say, we win these.
Oh.
And they did, as Beryl very excited about the situation. As once again, perfect on a flank angle. GENG full information. Goshik getting down low. Deft trying to find these volleys as Perfect gets into that backline. Another Stranglethorn's used on just the Jax. But it may work out here as it's a decent knockback. They take down the top laner, and Keen is absorbing so much BDD. He finds both carries in the backline, and Pace is wiped out. This time, though, they managed to get Deft, and I think that GENG have enough damage left available, and Pyoshik and Beryl will not be able to do it. Pyoshik will at least have the last laugh, as he's the one that decides his fate. But Beryl is walking the wrong direction. And Lahen's is just going to let him go. They don't want to waste their time because they just want to take this Baron.
Here we see the problem for KT. Even though Perfect, man, I'm betting KT's very happy that that guy is back.
Oh,
Finds a great flank. BDD gets the carries. The problem for KT is that GENG, you might look at this and go, they have 3 very strong carries. But the reality is they have 4. Because Keen on his Cassante, just able to simultaneously tank so much. And the only way that KT win this fight is if they actually kill all of the backline, which, again, the fact that they've been getting close in of itself, I think, is insanely impressive, right? As the ultimate from Beryl doesn't actually hit the mark, but BDD really does. Finds both FaZe and Chovy, but as you can see, like, Keen is zoning people off. Deft ends up going down, and without Deft, they don't have the consistent DPS needed, and Canyon was still full health throughout all of that. So there's just so many things that you need to deal with, and despite their amazing fights, 9-9s in kill score, it feels like that fight might end up deciding the game, as the Rebel Baron power play for GENG, I'm sure, is going to be massive.
I would say so as well. And I think that it's really cool that KT kept it interesting for those couple of team fights. But this is what it's been looking like we're heading towards most of the game. As GENG, they managed to take the first neutral, they'll take the second one as well, as that is Soul Point for the Chemtech Soul that they pick up there. And Chovy splitting on this bottom side. Deft here to catch the wave, so at least Chovy's not going to be able to take this one just yet. Laying down the groundwork, getting all of this vision set up. And it just feels like such an uphill battle for KT. This whole game is what it's sort of led to. And I think it all just comes from Canyon and his ability to pilot this Zyra kind of exactly how it needed to be this game. GENG still looking for a bit of an angle here. And they're just, KT taking too much damage underneath this turret. Beryl going to be shielding them up, trying to do what he can to keep them healthy, but all the while, Keen not there. He's on the top side, putting that extra pressure down. And there are too many holes in the ship and not enough plugs.
KT, I think in this series look a lot better. Even in the DK series, which was closer, like the fights have looked better than they've looked all summer. And I know we're in week 2, but still, that's something to look towards. That's something to give them credit for. But they're gonna have to find a similar level of insane combo. And I think you start to see GENG adapt as well, in that I feel like they're a lot more aware of the threat of that ultimate, in that they don't just pile up behind us.
Well, there it is! BDD finds all of them with that ulti KT, they do manage to at least get the kill on the Yone, and I think maybe the wallets are a bit too heavy because look at that, the double from the grave for Canyon as he then just finds himself a forbidden book from the library. Very, very cute stuff. As okay, Perfect and Beryl, the last man standing, and I thought that that was going to be it. That was the Wombo combo. That was the sick play. KT find a team fight. Now, it's just the Zyra presses her buttons before she dies.
Okay,
she still does so much damage.
I figured it out. You know how when you are fighting in a JRPG and you're like, you've used all your pots, you've used all your items, and you're like, I got the boss. Guys, we're gonna do it. And then the choir starts singing and the music starts playing. That's this! You get onto the back line, you kill Pace, you kill Canyon, and it just doesn't matter. Perfect wasn't there, and not to discredit him, but it's just like because the way the engage worked, right? He tried to make the teleport play to get behind them, wasn't actually able to make it work. But again, the amount of damage output that is being done is absolutely ludicrous. And KT, they've run out of consumables, and every time they think they've got the boss beat, there's just another phase.
I know, it's exactly like the Ghost pirate ship guy from Golden Sun 1, you know? And you just, because you can't see the health bar, and you're like, oh, surely he's about to die, so you just use all your damage abilities, and unfortunately, it's just not enough.
Yeah, and then you can't defend, and then he just sucker punches you.
Yeah, then he just actually kills you. Everyone dies, because you haven't used all your defensives like you've been rotating the entire time. I
can't believe that Corki was effectively reworked like 1.5 times, and Chovy is still just topping the damage charts.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a tough task with Canyon here on their Zyra that has been very, very strong throughout this whole game. It all just comes back to Corki and Chovy in particular.
Yeah, can't believe.
Just, knocking down all of these turrets. It's now 7-2. 10,000 gold lead here for GENG. There's a minute and a half on both the Baron and the Soul, and it's perfectly aligned. I've never seen timers this synchronized. It's gorgeous.
This is a special game, Atlas. First we have the 0 gold difference, and now this.
Wow, what does it mean? It means that they both come up at the same time, but what does it mean outside of that?
You call Nicolas Cage, I'll call Jim Carrey, and between the two of them, they'll be able to crunch the numbers.
All right, nice. I'm very much looking forward to it, because there is some, it's symbolic, right?
There's gotta be. There's no way it's just random.
It can't be. There's no such thing as coincidence, okay? Just does not exist.
I keep hoping for KT to find an even better angle. I just don't know if it's there.
Well, Solar Flare is going to slow down Deft, as now they do find an encore. We'll see whether that's it. It's just not. Beryl explodes like a balloon, and at least King gets knocked up, but he's just not taking damage. He dives in, gets the all-out onto Pyoshik. Flash out from Deft, but his health bar is just too low. And Chovy is going to push Perfect out of there. They keep everyone alive, and GENG, I think this is the push for the end here in game number 1.
See if they actually take down the Nexus, or if they decide, well,
yeah, never mind.
KT's had some great team fights. Let's just take it easy. Let's not take any risks.
Here's the synchronization, 5 seconds, then we find out exactly what happens when they both spawn at the same time. It means that they both become available at the same time. That's what it is. I'm so glad we got to the bottom.
What do you expect would happen? Like, the map opens up and there's a new side quest?
Yeah. Would have been really cool. You know, there's quests in the game. That's a thing. There's precedent there.
I know.
It's all right. Speaking of which, this is going to be the second one that did just spawn at the same time as the Dragon. The Baron
like the cool,
is now the next thing.
Rengar Kazakh's one that everyone knows about.
I do like that one.
It's so unfair. Getting a 4th evolve is not okay.
I know. Very, very silly. And Rengar's cool item thing is now gone, so it just doesn't even really work that well. The same way that it used to anyway. Is okay. Keen, just being that brick wall. This Baron is just falling down lower and lower. They do a bit of damage here to Keen to start this one up, and the Baron is now going to lose interest in the
Look
fight.
at the base! Look at the base!
The Winions are getting the work done here, but KT, we know that they are committed to finding a team fight. Perfect gets himself over. Lehens was waiting for him, as now Chovy, he's going to get stunned up. Pays is going to fall down, and Perfect goes gold and avoids the Stranglethorns. The team fight's beautiful. We're trying to ignore the fact that the base is just getting torn to shreds anyway. There's the 1-for-1 in the end, but it's not really a 1-for-1 because Genji just needs to keep the busy BDD. Heatlake doesn't manage to get Chovy, and Chovy once again doesn't have to flash. It's a double kill for Canyon, and Deft is the last man standing. Frostshot gonna try and slow him down, but we can see those really large red markers, and here we are now. Back into the base as the minions have just spawned, but there are supers here, and this is over. That's the ace for GENG. And KT, they found a couple of fights. That was really cool. But there was just nothing they could do in the end.
A roller coaster of a game.
Was it though?
Well,
don't roller coasters go like up and down?
If you ignore the gold graph, it was.
Yeah, yeah.
If not, it was just a leisurely walk.
It's Canyon.
Well, okay, yes. Yeah, you know, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Because I do really think that you can make an argument for the entire top side, and it's convincing, and it's right, and it's okay. No? Okay, well,
I think that
I was leaning. I'm a big Canyon enjoyer. He ran the early game.
I mean, you are sitting next to the 100% purely Zyra biased commentator.
Yeah, well, again, he had a masterclass on the pick. I'm just thinking that Keen Sante, it hits different.
It does.
Okay, Chovy and Corky, that's old news. That's
the fourth time he's played it as well. Like he's played one other champion.
So this is my point. People will look at this and go, man, I can't believe they gave Corky to Chovy. I'm like, what? Did you want him to have Tristana? You want him to play Yone? It's not going to go better for you.
No, I don't think it matters. You need to ban Chovy, not the champion.
Ah, there you go.
That's how it works.
Figured it out.
We'll see whether KT have figured that one out as well, although it is impossible. We are going to go to a short break. When we get back, we will hear the Space's take on game number 1. We'll have game number 2 for you right after. We'll see you there.
볼만하다. 이러면 다시 볼만하다. 묶었어. 넣어도 될 것 같아. 이거 애쉬 도플, 애쉬 도플. 그런 생각해. 나 이거 끝까지 쫄게. 그래. 얘네 딜 못하고. 이거 세라핀? 괜찮은데? 암흑 시간에 묶고 나왔어. 너 자꾸 어디 가서 하나? 괜찮아? 애쉬 많이 빠르다. 나 애쉬 내가 더 빨라, 내가 더 빨라. 형, 애쉬가 더 빠른데? 내가 더 빨라, 내가 더 빨라. 아니, 내가 원딜 타임이 너무 사기야. 너무 빨라. 연계를 너무 많이 당해. 다음엔 안 당해.
연기?
수환이
누가 연기?
수환이 오데스를 했네? 수환이 내가 다 봤어. 박재공룡이야 이 사람. 동화도 있어 이 사람.
수환이 오데스인데?
Chovy didn't really have a very good time in their very first series this season. Of course, they still won 2-0, and it wasn't all that necessary.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
You'll be able to find a way to spin it, and that's what
absorbed
I want to see.
pressure or something like that. Yeah.
Happy Pioshik, that's a good thing to see for KT. I also hope that if they do end up going 0-3, if they end up losing, that they don't let it get to them too much. This team, I think, in their highest moments, as we saw last split, can definitely be really, really big contender. At least try and pressure some of the top teams. But after that first game, I do kind of feel strengthened in my... I don't think GENG is going to lose a game today.
No, I don't think so either. I don't know whether they will this season. We'll just have to see. That might be getting ahead of myself. Last time around, this happened, and we'll see whether this happens again. It's Corky Zeri if GENG do want to just run it back. And we'll just see. It might... Maybe they up the priority on the jungle pick this time around. Because this time it may not be KT allowing the Zyra to go through. But honestly, you lock in Zeri, and then you take Leona on 3. I think you're pretty happy about how that one goes. As Supreme, let's see whether he can change things up here in this selection of picks to make a difference.
Pei's also having a swing game, you know, after how his Ezreal games were like, man, he's still here, MSI Pei's, and then this game was like, oh god. He got the 1 kill at the beginning. That was it.
That's what they needed, though, to be perfectly honest. Like, his work was done.
I mean, it didn't end up mattering. I think that Pei's in that one, especially that final engage, you know, that fight near the Baron pit where he just ran over. He's like, we just need to start the fight. The minions are doing their job. But definitely not his best performance, but it didn't matter. And that's the problem with this GENG, something we saw in MSI as well. In the finals, it wasn't necessarily about Chovy. It was about the bot lane. It was about Keen. It was about Canyon.
It was about this guy on your screen right here, Mr.
Why not?
Lahens. And there is the Zyra lock-in. Yeah, they don't want to risk it. They don't want KT to take that one away this time around. It was so incredibly pivotal in game number 1. So they're going to leave up the Leona. And that is an opportunity for KT to ban if they would like to. Of course, they put a lot of bans into jungle champions of the AP variety last time, so that frees that up. As Nautilus to be taken away. There is the conversation to be had about Zyra being a flex. Should we have that?
Oh god, of all people, you know Lahens would.
Yeah.
He would love it. Well, I don't think you do. I think you need an engaged champion.
Yeah.
To really make aware, which is why we're probably, maybe they'll just ban all of them.
I mean, Zyra engage is pretty good. You flash in, press E and R and die. That's the engage.
So now, KT might feel priced in to ban Rel as well. No, gonna be Cassante, which obviously never gonna complain about that. As the Crank!
Oh, okay, Lahens. Back to one of his all-time favorites. This will mean that Beryl is probably not going to pick Seraphine.
No.
They played that matchup into Andil on his Blitzcrank, and that went pretty well for the Kwangdong Freaks, if my memory is right. But so far, even though it may need some fixing, they're still going to pick the same champions. Pantheon being looked at here, of course, one of Beryl's old favorites towards the bottom side.
It's point and click CC.
True.
For Zeri, you don't have a lot of range. Also, playing it into Zyra doesn't sound
What
like
about
the best
Vi
time.
support? What about Sejuani support and just put Pyoshik on Vi?
At that point, just play Maokai, no?
True. What about Lulu?
I don't love playing Lulu into Blitz.
Yeah, I don't think that doesn't scream, this is the answer.
So if you don't get hooked, obviously Lulu can be quite the lane bully, especially with the Ashe. But the gank setup is definitely going to be there. For Keen, no Cassante, no Rumble. That's not something that we're going to be super excited about. I was looking if he wanted to play something like Camille, something that can actually match the Jax. Not going to be the case. It's going to be Udyr. Not very exciting, but Keen playing frontline does make sense. GENG, their comp looks considerably worse than last time. And that's credit to KT for their adaptations in the bans. I think they definitely made the right call in that regard.
I think also the priority pick on the Zyra did kind of ruin things a bit. Because that allowed the Cassante and Leona bans to actually come in, right?
Yeah, and Canyon, we both know that you can also play Brand and Karthus and Talia and Lilia.
Yeah.
And Zyra, obviously.
Yeah.
I think, you know what, maybe he just wanted to play Zyra.
Yeah, maybe he's like, oh man, I'm feeling this. Do you see how fast that clear was? Let's go. We can't lose. And maybe they were like, well, the rest of the picks are irrelevant. And to be perfectly honest, KT won the 2 earliest most pivotal team fights, and it mattered less than 0. So
yeah, it just wasn't relevant.
Yeah, maybe if he just does it again, it's just Donzo. Look at this guy, calmly confident in KT.
The only way you can be a KT fan is always be confident.
Well, unless you're too confident, in which case it just shoots you in the foot. Like, for example, putting them first place in your predictions. It's generally a poor move.
Who would do that?
I don't know, some idiot. Let's get into game number 2.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
All right, pretty even spread when it comes to the yelling as Lahens. Oh, I do like it. We had Jonah Strong trying to keep us in the dark there as much as possible. But the hook is not going to connect. VOD just a little bit further away from the brush. But let's see. Let's see whether Deft is once again going to be in exactly the wrong spot, having to blow flash very early on, whether this time around he is going to learn. Because I think it's one thing to pull out the Zyra and have that performance in game number 1. It would be another thing if KT walk into the same pitfalls again straight away.
There's no way. I still, don't get me wrong, expect KT to fall behind considerably in the early game. Expect the GENG lanes. Bot lane we'll have to see. I think that more depends on jungle intervention, but definitely do their very best, as Keen is already showing here. They're level 1, obviously insanely strong, very obnoxious.
A bit of circling going on here, as PureShake already down to 50%. Suboptimal. As Perfect with the Counter-Strike, we'll be able to at least stun up Keen momentarily. Keen looks like he is about 0 bothered by the whole situation, as they will just wander to lane now. So, all amongst that, some grasp stacks were procured, and that feels fantastic for these top laners. That's perfect. Let's see when he's going to be able to get his first CS. It's not yet, but it might happen soon.
I really like this also in light of Canyon already going to have a substantial clear speed advantage, and like even slowing down POC by just a little bit is quite nice. Perfect helping out, or initial plan to help out there with the leash makes a lot of sense to make sure that Canyon doesn't get as much of a lead, but there's really no stopping it, right?
Yeah.
It's just the reality of the situation with the Zyra. And I do want to echo what you were saying earlier. There's absolutely 0 way that Deft walks into exactly the same position at the exact same time. The setup with that blitz is always going to be something that really is going to have to be respected. As we do see, the reason why the Lulu still has a ton of power is obviously because, particularly early on and combined with the Ashe, the amount of pressure that you generate is amazing. I'm really happy about this because so many of the Udyrs that we've seen just had seemingly forgotten about this specifically, which is the part of his kit that allows him to just be mega obnoxious the first few levels. Keen playing to that, to this level, I think is a really good sign. As oh, he snuck through.
Yeah, looks like KT kind of knew what was going on here. Still, they have to blow the heal as Beryl gets the flash off just in time. That rocket grab perfectly placed by Lahens. But look at this. I mean, this has done enough to get them all of that control. Heal and flash now down on Beryl this time, but it's still the same problem.
Now, Lahens at any point can flash on top of Beryl. If Canyon's in the vicinity, that's just going to be the end of it.
Yeah.
It's tough to play against GENG. Plus, that's really the takeaway here. It's not a fun time. It's not feeling great. Canyon, we'll see if he tries and contests. Don't think that's going to be the case though. Yoshik obviously already on his first back, making his way over, should be able to get that.
Yep.
So that's nice, but Canyon did force sums on the bot side of the map.
Yeah, they don't have first blood this time, just yet.
He's not even behind.
Yeah.
It's the tempo advantage you get with these clear speeds. His camps are about up, so we'll see. I don't think that they actually want to commit, and it looks like actually making a play onto Perfect not going to be the case. Makes sense with the wave state as well, as Udyr will, of course, always be pushing in.
Yep, he's just going to head down, grab his Raptors on that spawn, and then look to see where to go next. Of course, as the Zyra, you just have a lot of time to think about where you want to go, because you just kill these camps so incredibly fast. As Beryl is going to get hooked, and they hadn't backed, and he's not going to be able to heal. He does manage to get himself the shield, but that is once again first blood. This time, no Canyon required for the secondary portion. Yeah.
You don't have sums!
Yeah.
Of all people! Should know that against Lahens, Lahens didn't even have to flash. That would make to me feel a lot better, right? If you have to flash and then the play works out. But no, he doesn't even have to flash. He just gets a free hook off. And right now, GENG is doing the exact. It's the same game.
Yeah, it's the same game. As there's the flash hook, and Deft has to flash, and that's going to mean that he is even more susceptible Beryl still with 50% of his cooldown remaining on his flash, and so there is a lot for Canyon to get done here as he's looking to start off this dragon.
There's nothing you can do. Realistically, like now Deft doesn't have his flash, meaning that the all-in pressure of this Gen G bot lane going to be way stronger. And Canyon, one of the big weaknesses that I do think you have with the Zyra is obviously, if you fall behind in tempo, I think the pick is really hard to play, right? If you start getting invaded, if you're getting pressured. Look at the prio they have in their lanes!
Yeah, and BDD is trying to rotate over as Keen is just wandering through the enemy jungle. What is going on?
Is he gonna, I was about to say, is he like, if he does that and then runs bot and ganks the Deft and Barrel without sums.
But Perfect lost farm because of that, because he pulled the wave while he was doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is, what this is just showing you if you can abuse tempo on the map, then you can really get away with some ridiculous stuff. And GENG are not only doing that on the bottom side, not only doing that in the jungle, but they're also doing it with top lane now.
And while the funniest part of me is that while all of this is happening, Chovy's like, I got my call, I got my tear. I am vibing. I don't need to do anything. I just need to last hit my minions. My side lanes are winning. My jungle is winning. What a great life.
Yep, must be good, must be good. He's also then, like, still probably the greatest laner that we have. So it's just kind of nutty that he isn't even necessarily required to do that thing that he's known for. Although he is still ahead by more than a wave up against BDD here. As there's Hex Flash, and Lahen's going to get slowed down momentarily. Doesn't quite find that hook. As now Deft able to avoid the extendo beam. Ulti from Pays. Beryl doesn't have his available, nor does Deft. They do want to be able to kill a minion or two to try and get level 6, as now Pays gonna get turned on. Still level 5 to level 6 from Pays, but in comes Canyon. There's the flash. Doesn't manage to get too much, but there is the hook from Lahen's to lock down the kill for Pays once again.
It's the summoner advantage playing such a big part there, even without the ult on Deft, even with a level deficit. Ashe Lulu so insanely strong in that all-in, but if you don't get to do your damage, if you just get to disengage at will because they have sums and you don't, and that just buys time for Canyon to show up in the nick of time yet again, further building out this gold lead for GENG.
Man, this is ridiculous. Just under 2,000 here at 8 minutes and 20 seconds. Trophy gonna have his back stopped just a little bit there. And here it is one more time. Lahen's doesn't find the hook, and it was looking okay here for KT as they avoid a fair bit. Pays throwing down the ulti, but the barrier kind of eating a fair bit of that damage potential.
And then in the longer trade, obviously Deft has his PTA really, really strong, especially with the help from Lulu, but they just can't cross the gap. And then here, Beryl, his flash is back up, and he has to use it immediately. Lance finds the CC, Pays just standing in a position of safety, ends up getting 2 kills again. Canyon's still here.
Yeah, we do have the Hawk shot. I believe Canyon not in amongst that one whatsoever. And so he doesn't have flash anymore, of course. Used that in the last exchange. See whether he needs it, though, as this big wave is stacking up. And oh, no. The Grasping Roots will connect, but Goshik, he'll turn up immediately to get knocked up into the sky. Canyon locks down that first kill, and there's a hook once more. KT, it looked rough in game 1. It is looking absurdly difficult here in game number 2. Oh, man. All right. Hens, can he find the hook? Will he need to find the hook, I guess, is the question. As Goshik is going to flash it, but still has to invest it. And Keen is still doing ridiculous things on the other side of the map. Chovy's Chovy. And GENG, I mean, this is just a much cleaner version than game 1, right?
Oh, Atlas, it hurts. It hurts watching. Even with Bioshik there.
Yeah.
For the counter gank, they made the read.
It's like they knew it was going to happen, and then GENG outplayed them anyway.
It just doesn't matter. And all of this is because it starts with Deft getting CC'd, right? Which makes if Deft doesn't get CC'd, Bioshik doesn't have to come immediately. They don't get the guaranteed ultimate from Zyra on top of him as well. And it makes the play so much harder, but guess what? Canyon hits his root. Deft ends up going down immediately. Again, didn't have a summoner, so no way out for him. And then lands here. Doesn't end up hitting it, but it doesn't matter. Actually, I think tried to go for like a predict. If Pioshik flashes a little bit differently, he might still get caught. And all of that has also meant that Keen is just bullying Perfect, and there's not really anything that Perfect can do, right? This is just how the matchup should go if the Udyr plays to the highest level of aggression. And Chovy, 30 CS left on the call. Manamune coming, or Muramana, slowly getting built towards as well with the tier stacking, and yeah, that's going to come down to Triforce, but that spike, they're not even going to need it. They're 3K gold up again.
He's gonna finish 2 items and he's gonna use it to kill a Nexus. As Lehens misses a hook, so that might be an opportunity here for KT, who have done A damage to a turret here. Is now VOD fighting against Chovy, but Canyon, he shows up. Pioshik in the area, he'll find a Glacial Prison this time to get the knock-up. Ulti comes through as well. Can they kill Canyon? The answer is yes, as it's the arrow landing from downtown that collects it. And so Deft is on the board. He may immediately get punished as the hook goes completely wide. Deft still having the flash available as he uses it when he doesn't have to. So there we are. They deserved the flash, I guess is how it works.
Yeah, I wonder if he was expecting Pace to maybe flash forward, flash Q or flash W. So playing it safe there. The funniest part is that Barrel got an assist on that as well. I wonder if he like
just shielded Deft before he ulted,
as he fired off the arrow.
It's beautiful.
It's something, you know. They get the kill onto Canyon. I don't want to be, especially because it's not a good look at me, you know, to be the glass half empty guy. But that alone is not going to be enough. KT's going to need a lot more. We saw that team fighting last time around.
Oh, well, Keen is going to discover Perfect. They circle at one another, and Keen's circle works. Perfect is not going to quite find it. Still, he should be all right. By the way, this Jack skin just looks like Tarek to me. Have you noticed that?
No, but now that you pointed out, I do get it. Take another look. Chovy fighting with BDD. The 1v1, not too bad, but they don't have a vision in the river. And then Canyon walks up. This is what we were talking about with Zyra. One of the weaknesses that she does have is that if you do get engaged on, you'll be able to do a lot of damage. But generally, you are going to go down very, very quickly as an immobile mage. So an example of that there is, Pioshik.
Gonna face check as Pioshik does find the Winter's Wrath, and it does absolutely nothing. Kirby just makes it over to the rest of his team. Canyon going to be able to lock down Drake #2. And once again, it is that Chemtech Soul. You love to see it.
Do you?
No. No, you don't. I'm trying to go for a positive tack here.
I'm just making sure.
Yeah, the last game I mean, this time, there is a, you know, there's turtle stance. It's not called that anymore on the Udyr, right? There we go, some value. There's the, you know, yeah, I don't know.
There's Lehens, his shield?
Yeah, there we go. His passive.
Ah.
It's beautiful. Better build a tier. All right. Not sure whether it's the most pivotal dragon, but I don't know whether the dragon is a conversation that we necessarily need to have, because I don't think a soul is what's going to be winning this game. It feels like GENG are in a whole lot of control regardless.
I prefer to think of it as a conversation we get to have, because it's a low-stakes game, as in not a lot is happening right now. The stakes are quite high. GENG going, you know, continuing their undefeated streak.
They need to challenge Kwangdong Freaks for that top spot.
They do.
And you require a 2-0 to get there.
Which is very funny, but also entirely true. Kwangdong really having a breakout first couple of weeks. Not the first time, and I think all of us are still, you know, remaining a little bit cautiously optimistic, but it feels like this is the real time. This is the one that's going to stick. GENG are still very much in a league of their own, it seems. For KT, going 0-3, it is going to sting. This match, we all mean about, you know, the fact that they sent a Nautilus, GENG, and we're the only ones to beat them in a series throughout the entirety of the year. The second time they met, if I remember correctly, it was just a swift 2-0, and there was not a whole lot to talk about. We're cruising towards that here with another 3.5K gold lead. Canyon and Lehens, his buddies waiting. There's no one coming, but they don't know that. I just go for the Herald if they want to.
VOD is on his way. He indicated that that is where he would like to go. I think that Canyon and Lehens are going to lose patience, and they do so. Chovy moves up towards this turret. Canyon uses his plants in order to save a couple of turret shots from these minions. May not necessarily be needed, but still cool little tech that you can do on the Zyra. And Deft is just trying to hold on to the minion wave in that mid lane. Keen still being frustrating, and the amount of pressure on this map is just insane. We can see here, gold leads abound, and it's Chovy that is the biggest benefactor.
That's so funny to me.
I know, isn't that crazy that Chovy would be super far ahead in gold?
So he still is first striking it up, right? That's like first strike as well as global gold as well as his
Cull
call.
finished, yep.
Yeah, because he hasn't actually been involved on the map just yet. Herald comes down. GENG, I think they want to avoid what happened in the previous game where they were in this position and then, you know, they had a couple of team fights that didn't really go their way and the game got dragged out. Feels like everyone is playing it a lot cleaner this time.
Indeed. This time Keen able to move in. He's going to play that front line. They managed to get the charge. It was Lehens, and Lehens is going to dive back in again. Use Shelly as a little bit of a speed boost, moving down towards that bottom side. Look at that. Drift King. Clipping through the walls and may just die, but it was very cool drifting, Lehens. Really nicely done. Love that.
Look at his face! That's the most Lehens moment.
That's the most Rift Herald moment
That's your
that we've had.
MSI Finals MVP right there.
Yeah. That's a singed player. That was a singed player play through and through. Outcome of the game, absolutely irrelevant. As
he had to do it to him, Atlas.
Yeah.
He had to do it to him.
He did.
We don't know why, but
He was like, my early game was too powerful.
I remember as well, I forgot what the exact situation, when they got the double charge, when like someone's like yelling at Lehens, you're not supposed to take the Herald. That's not a good thing for you.
Well, he did it again, and it was once again not good. So perhaps this can be used as a learning experience. You know, he just wasn't quite sure whether it was actually a bad idea until it really was.
So the one thing this has given KT is a lot more vision control towards the bottom side of the map. So they do now actually have a decent idea of where everyone is. Space does finish his rune-ons.
All right, there's the grasping roots. Pioshik going to get knocked up as Canyon offering a bit of damage back. Does have his Leandries, but isn't actually
that's
fully complete as BDD finds a knock up onto Keen. It's probably not a battle that BDD is all that capable of winning, as Keen is going to circle up and walk towards him, as the Udyr loves to do. Vision now going down as this dragon has been started up. Soul point available for GENG as they teleport in. Chovy looking to make his way over. Pioshik using the walk tactic very nicely, but so's Keen, and his does some damage. Pioshik gonna have to get out of there. Permafrost does come on through. There's the ulti, but Pays just dodges out of the way. And BDD not gonna have that for this next fight. Now Lehens moving down, wanting to find that rocket grab. We'll see whether he can get it as flashes abound. And that is another one. The ulti just gonna pick it up. Speaking of ultis, Lehens uses his circle as well. The bottom lane is eviscerated, and GENG never even really need to go for too much of a fight because KT were already on the ground.
Lehens has done this on Lulu as well, with the flash ultimate, right?
Yeah.
To guarantee the play.
I like how Pays kills Beryl with the ultimate, which is a circle around him. And then Lehens is like, haha, I can do that too, and kills Deft exactly the same way.
As we take another look here, so what happens is Perfect TP's in, and he's on a pretty deep flank, but like by the time he's here, the fight's basically already lost. Because Pioshik got chunked earlier by Canyon and then takes more damage here. Keen is making Udyr look like a viable pick again, which honestly might be the most impressive thing out of this whole sequence of events. And then Lehens just flash shots. Here we go.
This is the replay. This is the replay that we have to be watching here. Is he's concentrating. He's concentrating. He's like, wait a second. Oh.
네, 전령. 아니, 형 그럴 것 같았어, 뭔가. 그냥 너무 괘씸해.
This man has had to deal with Lehens' shenanigans for like a year and a half now, Atlas.
Oh, man. He's like, he knows that you did that. I know that you had an accident.
Just
basically.
a little accident for like.
Just a little bit of a happy accident for Lehens. One of those things that does happen, and I think he made up for it pretty well towards the end. 100% kill contribution this time around. Pays not anywhere near having the performance from game one. It is very clean. As Perfect is just getting chased down by the Udyr. And this reminds me of the original Udyr, you know? Like, yeah. He wears his ice and fire clothes, you know? Yeah, the Kanik Rookern one that was just abusing just how tanky this guy can be. He's now got a Sunfire cape, he's got a Frozen Heart, and he is just incapable of being pushed away from a lane.
GENG just showing how easy it is to play League of Legends when you have 3 winning lanes. And it feels great for the team playing. Yeah. Because Keen, it's also like it kind of compounds upon itself. As well, we have a play here.
Do we think Pyosik will survive is the question, as Keen is walking in amongst 3 people and looks like he does not care. Pyosik gets the wild growth, will be able to get out of there. They sacrifice a fair bit of their health bars. Decent knock-up from BDD as well onto Chovy. As Perfect grouped up with the team. Not too much invested here though on the side of GENG. It is just Lehens' ultimate. As KT think that they might have an opportunity on this outer turret. There's the hook. This time Pyosik going to be able to avoid it. Grasping Roots, not going to be able to find it. And all right, they get the redemption. Health bars back up here. It's going to be an honest 5v5 if they do manage to find it, as Pays going to suffer too much there. BDD just testing the waters, not pressing the R button just yet.
It's a team fighting again.
Oh man, how many times can Pyosik try to bait out hooks so they can have some chance of starting a fight the way they want to? As Beryl, he's the one that gets the flash hook out. And that's understandable. It's worked for Lehens in the past this game. Skeen comes on over, but it is KT that do manage to get themselves some vision, some control of this mid lane as well on top of it. As there is a back to come through from Lehens. Needs to get some wards back up. 2 control wards back in the back pocket.
Hey, this is not too bad for KT, because GENG, they don't actually want to run the risk of getting caught in a bad team fight the way they did in the last game. So instead, we're just kind of K-ramming, and nothing is really happening.
Yeah. I do want to remind, you know, everyone that it's an 8,000 gold lead.
Oh, no, GENG can definitely just start it and win the game. Yeah. I think they just... Coach Kim probably, you know, he's in his summer club. He's like, guys, hey, I know you got the win, but clean it up a little, right? In the next game, and they're like, okay, we're sorry, boss. We'll do a little bit better.
And you were talking about item spikes. Chovy's hit a few of them now. He's 3,000 gold ahead. Perfect is probably dead here, as does manage to sidestep that one quite nicely, but the knockup still does come through, and Pei's gonna lock up his 4th. And that should mean that GENG can just waltz on over to this Baron, pick that one up for themselves, and then use that to empower the minions to take down the enemy base.
There's no winner. Like, eventually someone is either gonna overextend in side lane or get caught by a hook. Yeah. Right, once you're this far behind, we'll see. KT can maybe get some exit kills, maybe get a Hail Mary team fight.
All right, there's a Glacial Prison as Pyosik tries to find it. The arrow goes entirely wide, though, unfortunately. Redemption is not going to be found in this game, as the Extendo Beam is going to force the ultimate out of BDD. He's running away with about 400 health, and Pyosik, he is a bit Owen Wilson, but I just don't think that's going to be the answer here, as Keen, he's even going to look for him. Does not want to risk any sort of response. As, yeah, Lehens over the wall, Chovy over the wall, and there is the hook. That's going to connect. Chovy's going to lock it up with a rocket. And so there it is. BDD is the only one that is still alive. I mean, perfect that he's on the bottom side of the map with no teleport. It's going to be the Baron secured by GENG. Pretty clean so far. Let's have a look at this one more time.
Still some smiles there from KT, understandably. GENG, they're just too damn good. The damage that comes out from Pays and Chovy here completely invalidates any form of healing that might be done. And this is where we see the gold deficit, right? Perfect obviously wasn't there, but I don't know if it would have made a big difference with how insanely fed everyone on GENG is.
He's going to need to do like some sort of heist maneuver or something like that, try and steal some of the gold that GENG have accrued for themselves, because that is what's really becoming a problem Keen also, you know, against the relatively pure physical composition, does now have 3 items that have armor in them. One of them being the one with all of the armor in it.
Yeah.
He was already ignoring everything.
Yeah, he's sitting at what? I saw 290 there.
Yeah.
For his armor. It's a lot of armor, Atlas.
It is quite a bit of armor, as Pureshik is going to throw out the sad B. Pretty understandably so as well. As Mega Cone for Pace gets him right towards BDD. I think he's too worried, although BDD can still theoretically catch him as picks the gap there, does Pureshik. A little bit unfortunate as he manages to part the Red Sea, as it were. And a hook going to be avoided there with an Arctic Assault, but my goodness, the damage is just ridiculous. And they still have more in the tank, right? Canyon still with the Stranglethorns available as there is the Grasping Roots. He throws down that ultimate like I was talking about. And perfect, he has to get Wild Growth, but he's still taking so much damage. The hook is going to be avoided, so he'll be able to make it back to the fountain. But after they get their health bars back, where does the good news start for KT in this game?
There's no good news, Atlas. We both know that.
Yeah, it is.
It's not happening.
It's rocks in hard places, as we do like to talk about here in the LCK. And KT desperately trying to hold on, but it is just not going to work. It's 14,000 gold. Chovy walks at Deft, and Deft could do nothing about it as the rockets rain down. Nexus Turret 1 will fall down. Nexus 2 sure to follow. And GENG just looking for a few extra kills as they melt them on their fountain. The MSI champions just toying with KT here, the only team that's been able to beat them in a best-of series this year, and it did not happen in the first round robin of summer. That's absolutely for sure.
Canyon making Zyra look like a must-ban pick. I can't believe it. Actually, I should. It's Canyon at this point.
Yeah, we can believe it. Did he have to do it? You know,
shouldn't come as a surprise. The priority pick, the draft with the Udyr, and we look at this and we go, is this really?
Man, Udyr is broken. Isn't it weird that no one else plays it?
Yeah.
What a crazy champion.
I swear to God, if this is going to lead to everyone picking Udyr again and then not doing anything for the entire game because Keen baits them into it, I will be fuming, Atlas. But even if you're a KT fan, you can't be mad at this. Like, no. GENG, they're just on another level. That's the reality of the situation.
That's how it goes. Keen fan in the audience here. As Canyon also having a bit of a day out here. His Zyra looking fantastic. Pulls it out, looks real good. As not exactly the happiest of Pureshik's here. But it's a pretty happy Chovy. Just playing his 5th game of Corki this season. He's feeling really good as they cruise towards 6 game wins in a row. 3-0 now officially first place here in the LCK. As Quantum Freaks, they managed to get up there, but they did lose 1 game. As Lands just very happy, probably just was complimented on his driving. Said that if there weren't any obstructions in the road, he would have been able to make it through. But unfortunately, there were some of those obstructions. Wonder whether Mada is going to have some words.
Hey, he couldn't see those. That's not his fault.
Couldn't see the obstructions?
No, they were in the fog of war.
That's true, but should you be driving through the fog of war without fog lights?
No,
I don't think so.
You gotta drive responsibly.
I don't think that Shelly has fog lights. As we're going to have a look at some of these highlights here. And even though it seemed like KT had an inkling, this is exactly what they were walking into. It just was not even remotely okay for them. As here it is one more time. Yeah, fog lights, you just need them. I believe also crashed into the bit of wall.
He should have been dead, regardless.
Yeah, no, he definitely was. That might have.
And we take another look. Might be many questions afterwards. Why did we see Chovy play Corki again? But as is often the case, are you really gonna drop an Italy ban?
Are you gonna ban Corki? I don't know whether you.
I don't even know, man. I imagine, because we know Chovy just often picks stuff because he's like, this is the strongest, even if he doesn't like it. Eventually, surely he's got to get bored and pick something fun, right?
I actually think he just really likes playing Corki. I think that's just my honest opinion.
He just enjoys it, being a little Yordle.
I mean, he's been playing Corki for so long in so many metas, so many different playstyles. Has always been really good at it. I imagine probably gives him a lot of good vibes. Speaking of which, that looked fun to me. if you were the Corki in the instance. Of course, from the Ashe perspective, not looking too hot, not having the greatest of times.
제대로 먹고 왔는데?
As GENG just kind of freight trained them.
나 왜 이렇게 그랩이 다 풀만 빠지냐? 한 번 더.
This is like the Nexus is dying to the minions and they just like crank those damage numbers.
To crank those damage numbers, as it were. This time, Chovy, I mean, last time around he did double BDD's damage. He really wanted to do triple BDD's damage in game number 2, so that in the second round robin he can do quadruple his damage. I'm looking forward to when he does 8 times his damage in the next series. Game 2 of the second round robin here in summer. I think that's how it goes, right?
Yeah, stuff going up exponentially is hard, but if anyone could do it.
He was supposed to do 4 times this time around, though, if I was going to actually do it properly, exponentially. But I'm not here for my mathematics, am I?
Don't do math on stream.
No,
never.
Certainly should not do that. But yeah, wow. A bit of a shellacking here from GENG. Not something that's all that surprising, but if you're a KT fan, it probably still stings just a little bit. It is now time for us to throw it over to the space, though, for them to break down this 2-0 for MSI Channels.
Thank you very much. This is Dear for the POG interview translation, joined by Chovy and Lihans on the side of GENG, who just took a 2-0 victory for a 3rd consecutive win. Congratulations! Chovy, with the victory against KT, you have secured your 3rd consecutive win. How do you feel? After the start of the season, we weren't able to, or we didn't drop a single match, so I'm very glad and happy. And Lihans, yeah, being able to win today makes me very happy. And KT was actually the only team who took GENG down this year. So did they keep you on your toes today? Today in particular, I feel like we were pretty confident as a team, so I don't think we were worried in any way. And Chovy, in game 1, Zyra jungle made an appearance. Was there any inspiration from another region? I can't really remember if this was from outside region, but we've been doing a lot of experiments with new champions, and I think that's just something that we earned from just practicing overall. And there was great synergy between Muramana, Corki, and Jungle Zyra, so what's good about this comp? Personally, it's not about Corki and Zyra having good synergy, it's just that we were able to play well and accomplish what we were supposed to do, and that's why it turned out so well. And so, at the last Baron team fight, let's take a look at this replay. There was a part where you dodged Yone's ult and took a kill. I thought that we were cleaning up pretty well over here, and I think you can actually get a little bit of vision when Yone ults here, so I got lucky and I was able to dodge in time, and I think that's why we were able to win this team fight so cleanly. So it looks like you did 42,000 damage in a 34-minute game. How amazing. And so even when KT was behind, they had such fierce wombo combo and managed to pose a threat. So what did you guys talk about as a team? As the opponent was fighting back, I think we're just being able to play, even though his dying wasn't very helpful, although I shouldn't say that, but I think we were just able to keep our heads in the game and just finish it off really strongly. And Lihans in game 2, you picked Corki, Zeri, and Zyra, and you actually took Leona as your R3 pick in game 1. So was this change due to GENG deciding that Zyra was more important? Now we were thinking about maybe it'll be stronger to take a different pick as the R3 pick, so I think we're just trying to try something different. And the Blitz pick you had a lot on your plate, so what was your main goal in this game? I think I was able to land some important grabs, but obviously I need some more practice landing getting higher accuracy. So, you know, being able to grab your opponent on the actual stage is more important than landing more grabs during practice. So I hope that he is able to improve in the future. And in game 2, Leehan tried to recycle Shelly after charging once and got into an accident. So, in your opinion, Chovy, how much is he liable for this accident? You know what? Rewatching this, I believe Leehan is responsible for 100% of the damage here. Leehan, what do you think? You know, I was under a lot of pressure from my teammates, and I was having a weak heart in that moment, so I think that's why it's really on my team. Looks like you guys are continuing your winning streak without dropping a single game, so what resolution do you have for your future matches? Yeah, we are able to continue our win streak. But rather than trying so hard to keep our winning streak, I believe that it's more important that we perform and play well. So I hope that we can continue our momentum. And Leehan, yeah, we were able to get a 2-0 victory, but I hope that we are able to repay all of our fans' support by showing you a great performance. And that's the end of the interview from Chovy and Leehan of GENG, and back to the space. Thank you.